On a quiet night in May 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Swanson was driving home from a party in rural Minnesota when his car got stuck in a ditch. Alone, confused, and trying to call for help, he spoke calmly to his parents over the phone, giving them directions to where he was stranded. Minutes later, he walked toward the road, promising to meet them, but then he vanished. How could someone simply disappear in the open, in blatant daylight, leaving behind only footprints and unanswered calls? Maps of the area show open fields, winding county roads, and deep ditches that could hide a person in plain sight. The night was quiet, except for distant traffic and the occasional chirp of crickets, yet somehow Brandon walked into nothingness. Every step he took seems to have been swallowed by the darkness, leaving a trail of mystery that has never been solved. My name is Harris, and you're watching Harris Investigates. Today, we're diving into one of the eeriest missing person cases in rural Minnesota. Brandon Swanson, a 19-year-old college student, vanished on a quiet night while trying to make his way home, leaving behind only his car, a phone call, and fading footprints. The circumstances are unsettling. Open fields, county roads, and familiar terrain that somehow swallowed him whole. Stay with me until the end, because some of the details in Brandon's disappearance are not just mysterious, they're deeply disturbing, the kind of story that lingers in your mind long after the phone call ended and the lights went out. Brandon Swanson was 19, a college student from Marshall, Minnesota, known by friends and family as careful, responsible, and easygoing. He loved the outdoors, enjoyed fishing and late-night drives, and had a close circle of friends who described him as dependable, kind, and quietly adventurous. Just hours before his disappearance, Brandon attended a party with friends, laughing and joking, completely unaware that the night would turn into a nightmare. He had plans to return home, call his parents, and prepare for the next day, routine, ordinary, familiar. The location was typical rural Minnesota, winding county roads, open fields, shallow ditches, and pockets of dense brush where a person could easily become disoriented. The area was quiet, isolated, and deceptively calm, with little traffic and few neighbors nearby. It was the kind of place that felt safe for a late-night walk or drive, but that very isolation amplified the danger. On the night he vanished, Brandon's car got stuck in a ditch just outside Lynd, Minnesota. He called his parents for help, describing landmarks and giving precise directions, but in the darkness, on the lonely gravel roads, every step he took seemed to vanish into the night. The contrast between his ordinary evening, safe, mundane, filled with plans and laughter, and the extraordinary, terrifying disappearance that followed is what makes this case so haunting. One moment he was just a young man heading home, the next he was gone, leaving behind unanswered questions. At around 1 a.m. on May 14, 2008, Brandon Swanson left a friend's house in the small town of Marshall, Minnesota, after an evening of casual celebration. He was driving his white 1996 Ford Explorer north on a rural gravel road when he missed a turn and eventually got stuck in a shallow ditch next to Lynd, Minnesota. At 1:12 a.m., he called his parents from his cell phone, calm but confused, explaining his car was stuck and asking for directions home. He described landmarks along the route, referencing a nearby grain elevator and a small bridge over a creek, trying to reassure them he could make it. At 1:15 a.m., he told his father, Leonard, and his wife, Beverly, that they would start walking toward the lights of Lynd, a few miles away, so they could pick him up. He carefully noted turns, distances, and the position of the ditch. By 1:25 a.m., he reported progress, walking along fields and past small patches of forest. His voice was steady, Yet there was an undertone of uncertainty, a subtle awareness of the night's isolation. At 1:35 a.m., Leonard and Beverly were driving toward him, coordinating by phone. Brandon asked for clarification on landmarks. "I think I'm near the creek. The lights are ahead. I'll be at the bridge soon." But then, at 1:40 a.m., he suddenly exclaimed, startled, "Oh, I, I don't know where I am." The line went silent. Multiple attempts to reconnect failed. Brandon's last confirmed sighting was on that call, walking alone under dim moonlight along rural roads between fields and small forested areas, unseen by any passerby. There were no surveillance cameras, no streetlights, and few neighbors awake to witness him. Footprints were later discovered in soft soil near the ditch, consistent with his boots, but they disappeared after only a short distance. No one saw him enter a vehicle, leave in another direction, or approach a nearby building. By 2 a.m., search efforts began as the family realized he had vanished. The final confirmed sighting remains the voice on the phone, a young man navigating familiar roads in darkness, reaching toward help, then suddenly gone. That night, Brandon Swanson disappeared into nothingness, leaving only the echo of his last words and a mystery that has endured for years. Immediately after Brandon Swanson vanished, local authorities launched an extensive search across southwestern Minnesota. Police, volunteer search parties, and family members combed the fields, ditches, and wooded areas near Lynd. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension coordinated the investigation, and the FBI provided support, analyzing phone records and interviewing witnesses. Cadaver dogs were brought in, and the area was scanned using aerial surveillance and thermal imaging. Search efforts continued for weeks, covering miles of rural roads, creek beds, and farmland. Despite the thoroughness, investigators found only Brandon's footprints near the ditch where his car was stuck, which disappeared abruptly into the surrounding fields. No personal items, clothing, or other traces were recovered. His car remained in the ditch, untouched aside from minor debris from the phone call, and there was no evidence of foul play at the scene. Several theories emerged. Accident. Brandon may have fallen into a hidden ditch or creek, become trapped, and succumbed to the elements. Supporting evidence includes the uneven terrain, darkness, and his mention of moving toward a creek. Contradicting this theory is the absence of a body, despite intensive searches and cadaver dogs sweeping the area. Foul play. Some suggest he encountered an unknown individual or was abducted while walking along the rural roads. Supporting evidence includes reports of mysterious vehicles in the area that night, but no witness confirmed an abduction, and no signs of struggle were ever found. Voluntary disappearance. The idea that Brandon left intentionally seems unlikely, given his calm phone call, lack of motive, and the sudden panic in his final words. Each theory carries weight, but is undermined by missing evidence. Detective Daniel Pendergast noted in his report, "We've searched every logical location multiple times. There's no evidence to support a definitive conclusion. Every lead either contradicts the last." Investigators have repeatedly returned to the same fields, ditches, and forested pockets, yet no new evidence has emerged. The strongest indications point to Brandon encountering danger on the isolated roads, yet whether that danger was environmental, accidental, or deliberate remains unresolved. In the end, Brandon's disappearance defies logic. Footprints end abruptly, the terrain offers no clues, and the night swallowed a young man who was walking with purpose and calling for help. Each theory, accident, foul play, or voluntary disappearance, carries fragments of plausibility, but none can fully account for the silence that followed. The investigation continues in fragments: maps, phone records, witness statements, and unanswered questions. Brandon Swanson's fate remains a haunting void in southwestern Minnesota, a reminder that sometimes, even in familiar places, people can vanish without a trace, leaving nothing but the echo of their last words and the chilling uncertainty of what came next. Brandon Swanson's disappearance is not an isolated incident in rural America. Across Minnesota and the surrounding Midwest, several cases show a disturbing pattern. Young adults vanishing from isolated roads late at night, leaving behind vehicles, personal items, or phone calls that abruptly end. In 2007, just a year before Brandon disappeared, 21-year-old Eric Garner went missing near a remote county road after a minor car mishap. Like Brandon, Eric had been in contact with friends and family moments before vanishing, and despite searches by local police and volunteer teams using cadaver dogs, thermal imaging, and aerial surveys, no trace of him was ever found. Statistics indicate that in rural areas of Minnesota, approximately 15 to 20 people are reported missing annually under circumstances involving vehicle breakdowns or roadside walks, though only a fraction are resolved. What makes Brandon's case striking and chilling is how quickly his trail ended, how the environment swallowed him despite nearby fields, ditches, and forested patches. These disappearances share unsettling characteristics: young, responsible individuals, isolated locations, last communications hinting at calm or confidence, footprints or minor evidence that abruptly vanish, and no confirmed sightings afterward. The pattern suggests that certain rural areas harbor hazards or unknown factors that can make someone vanish without leaving the smallest trace. Unsolved questions linger. Why did Brandon's footprints disappear so suddenly? Could environmental factors alone explain his vanishing, or was something more sinister involved? Were there unreported witnesses or vehicles in the area that night? And perhaps most hauntingly, why do similar cases repeat in the same geographic regions, seemingly targeting those who are careful, aware, and familiar with their surroundings? These questions continue to cast a shadow over southwestern Minnesota, turning ordinary roads into corridors of mystery, where one misstep or one unknown encounter can erase a person entirely. Brandon Swanson vanished on a quiet rural road in Minnesota, leaving behind only his stranded car, a brief phone call, and footprints that disappeared into the night. Despite exhaustive searches by local authorities, the FBI and volunteer teams using cadaver dogs, thermal imaging, and aerial surveys, no trace of him has ever been found. Investigators considered accidents, foul play, and even the possibility of voluntary disappearance. Yet every theory is riddled with contradictions, and the truth remains just out of reach. Similar cases in the region hint at a chilling pattern of young adults vanishing from isolated roads, their last moments marked by ordinary routine and sudden, inexplicable disappearance. To this day, Brandon Swanson remains missing, leaving more questions than answers. His story lingers as a haunting reminder that even familiar roads can hold mysteries that defy explanation. If you have thoughts or theories, share them below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to continue exploring these chilling, unsolved cases with me.